as you can see, the physics that are promoted by the rotational swing people really don't necessarily hold up. You'd have to take another view of them. But whenever we talk about bat size and what we're trying to do with the bat, we have to realize that it's not the size of the bat here that matters, that really affects our swing so much. It's the size of the bat during this phase. Now, the way you want to hit the baseball is you want to hit the baseball square, because your maximum force during in a lever is whenever you're going 90 degrees to the handle of the bat. So if I hit with the bat back here, say I really throw my hips and I get my hands here, then my hand is not at 90 degrees, and it's very hard to get it to 90 degrees unless I'm very early with my hips and very early with my hands. The idea of getting to 90 degrees is very important, especially whenever we really do talk about power. If we're not getting there, I could be somebody who's trying to hit and run and hit behind runners, and I can leave my bat head behind and do things like that. I can hit inside pitches like that. But you're not really going to hit effectively until you really start getting the bat square. And that's what you really need to do and really need to work on. Now, the stance is also very important, because in linear hitting, I typically want my hands back. Most people do. If you get your hands in here, it facilitates the turning motion of rotational hitting, but the arc size of your hands starting is only about that long. Whereas if you have your hands back, the arc of your hands starting is almost twice as much. Since you're doing it over a greater distance, you can develop more initial momentum, even though you're using smaller muscles. But at the same time, there's the problem of if I want to hit the ball square, the most important thing that I can do is cock my hands, because the hand phase, that lever phase, is the most important power-wise, and that's why really strong hand people hit the ball so well. Show me somebody with strong hands, I'll show you a good hitter. But if I get in a stance and it forces my hands to be neutral, if I get my hands here, my wrist is straight and it's not cocked. So if I get in a stance and my hands are not cocked, then I can't fully use that stage of hitting. I can't use the lever phase well. So for me to cock my hands, what I have to do is I have to raise my hands and cock. But then there's a problem, and that is that now my bat is fighting gravity. So what you find is no matter what you do, you're either having to fight gravity or you're having to have neutral hands where they're not fully cocked. So even if I bring my hands back, for me to fully cock this hand, I have to drop my bat head. Then I have to raise it during the swing, or I have to have a totally flat swing. So there's some problems with that too. But whenever we set up our swing, there's, people who teach rotational hitting is that we want to keep our elbows down. But the reason about 80% of major league hitters hit with their elbow up is what happens is to use linear hitting, you get your hands back, you can develop more speed, but you can't load your hands like that with your elbow down. So what happens is if you get your hands back, elbow down, you've got 45 degrees, so you don't have a problem with gravity, but your hands are not loaded. If I load my hands, so what they do is they take their elbow here and they raise their elbow to where it's straight across. Instead of straight up here, it's straight across here. And what that does is it allows me to, number one, overcome gravity by having my bat at 45 degrees. It allows me to have my hands further back, And by raising the elbow, I get to load my hands, and that's important. So thanks.